If you run a UK construction business and are doing over £500,000 a year and your accountant takes 6 months to get your accounts done, can't explain WIP reporting, doesn't really understand CIS and gives you the same generic advice as everyone else, then you've got the wrong accountant. I'm Ahmed, Finance Director for construction firms and founder of Blue Water Accountants. When Athena Commercial Interiors started, they made a smart call. They worked with a construction specialist from day one. So what happened? They ended up hitting 4.7 million in year one, grew 20% in year two, and are now on track to hit triple revenue in year three. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why most accountants struggle with construction, what you should actually expect instead, and how to know when it's time to make a change. Alright, so let's get into it. I'm going to share with you the 5 biggest things that generic accountants get wrong about construction. Mistake number 1, they treat all businesses the same. They'll set you up with a standard chart of accounts in your finance system like you're running a coffee shop or a consultancy. They don't get that construction is project-based and that the revenue, costs and cash flow all move differently. So when they give you generic advice, it just doesn't fit. They completely miss the nuances of retentions, payment timing, CIS, and all the things that make construction different. Mistake number 2, they only focus on year-end compliance. They'll file your accounts and tax returns, tick all the legal boxes, and move on. But here's the problem. You get those numbers 6 to 9 months after the year end. Way too late to actually do anything with them. They're reactive, not proactive. You get told what happened, not what's coming. No monthly management accounts, no real-time visibility, and no forward planning. Mistake number 3, they don't do proper WIP reporting. Some don't do it at all, others do it wrong. Look, they just don't understand how work in progress actually works in construction. It's about seeing job profitability as you go, not after the fact. So you only find out months later whether a job made money or lost money, and by then there's nothing you can do about it. Mistake number 4, they don't understand construction specific compliance. Sure, they might file your VAT and your CIS returns, but they're not optimizing them. They might get VAT domestic reverse charge wrong or miss how it impacts your cash flow. They're not thinking about subcontractor verification, R&D credits, capital allowances, because they don't specialize in construction. And mistake number 5, they don't speak your language. They talk in accountant jargon, not construction terms. They don't know what you mean when you say subbies, retentions, applications for payments. They can't have a real conversation about scaling or managing your cash through delayed payments. You end up explaining construction to them instead of them understanding your world. So look, it's not that they're bad accountants, they just don't understand construction. And when they don't get it, they can't give you the clarity, control, or confidence you actually need to grow. So let's flip it. What should you actually expect from your accountant if you're in construction? Well, first, they should actually specialize in construction, not just dabble in it. Not have a few construction clients, they should only be working with construction businesses. That means they understand the real challenges, CIS, retentions, payment timings, work in progress, job costing, all the stuff that makes construction different. They should speak your language, they should talk about projects, trades and subbies, not generic business jargon. And their advice shouldn't be coming from a textbook, but it should be based on real world experience of the construction industry. Second, you should have real-time visibility, not just year-end numbers. Monthly management accounts that should show you where you stand right now, not what happened 6 months ago. Proper WIP reporting that shows which jobs are making money and which ones are bleeding cash, whilst you can still fix them. And a 13-week cash flow forecast that actually accounts for retentions and payment delays. You should be having regular check-ins, either monthly or quarterly, to spot problems early on and plan ahead. Not just an email once a year saying, here's your accounts. Third, you want advisory support, not just compliance. A good accountant helps you make decisions. They should advise you on which jobs to take, how to price them, and when to hire. They should help you plan for growth and how to scale without running out of cash. And they should do proactive tax planning throughout the year, not just hitting you with surprise tax bills at the end of the year. And look, they should actually take time to understand your goals and help you build towards them, not just file returns and then disappear. Then there's the system side of things. They should set up the right systems so you're not constantly firefighting. You should have proper job costing systems so you can see which projects are actually making money. Automation for receipts and admin so you're not drowning in paperwork. CIS, VAT, and payroll handled on time, every time without the stress. And a steady rhythm of reviews and planning, not just crisis management at the end of every month. That's the difference. A compliance-only accountant tells you what happened months ago. A construction specialist accountant shows you where you are today and helps you to plan for tomorrow. So what's the real cost of sticking with a generic accountant? Because on paper, it might look cheaper, but in reality, it's probably costing you tens of thousands of pounds a year. First, in missed opportunities in tax planning. Construction has specific allowances and relief that most general accountants just don't pick up on. They don't optimize the timing of your expenses or how your revenues are recognized. They give you the same standard advice about paying yourself even though it doesn't fit your business model. And that can easily mean 10, 20, even 50 grand a year left on the table. Second, due to poor decisions from lack of data. You might take on jobs that look good on paper but end up losing money because there's no proper job costing. You might be pricing work wrong because you don't actually know your true margins. You could be missing growth opportunities because you can't see whether your cash flow will support them. Or worse, turning down good projects because cash feels tight when the numbers would actually say you're fine. Third, hidden losses from bad systems. This one's the worst because it's silent. Jobs quietly bleeding profit because there's no WIP tracking. Cash gets tied up in retentions that you're not monitoring. Variations get done but never billed, so you're funding your clients' changes out of your own pocket. And costs creep with no early warning system to catch them. Then there's the time and stress. You're constantly chasing your accountant for information. You're worried about payroll because there's no reliable cash flow forecast. You're working 70-hour weeks because the business still depends completely on you. And you can't even take a proper holiday because if you step away, things start falling apart. And finally, it stops you from growing. Without financial visibility, you can't confidently take on bigger projects. Banks won't back you because your accounts aren't lender ready and your cash flow systems can't handle more volume. So you get stuck at the same size, not because you can't grow, but because the foundations just aren't there. Now, if you're listening to this and nodding away thinking, yep, that sounds like my situation, then you're probably wondering what you can actually do about it. So look, I've put together a construction finance health check that takes about 3 minutes to complete. One of the things that it looks at is whether your current accountant setup is actually giving you what you need to run your construction business properly. The link's in the description below. Grab it if you want. Now, here's the thing. Switching accountants feels like a big deal. And yes, it is. But the cost of staying with the wrong accountant, that's often way higher than you realize. Missed tax savings, bad decisions from poor data, hidden losses you don't even see until it's too late. That stuff just adds up fast. We're talking tens of thousands of pounds a year. So let's talk about how construction specialist accounting actually works, because it's a completely different approach. First, we only do construction. We only work with construction and trades businesses turning over between £500,000 and £15 million a year. That's it. No retail, no professional services, no random industries on the side, just construction and property. And because that's all we do, we've built deep expertise in the stuff generic accountants struggle with: CIS, retentions, payment timings, project-based work. We understand your world because we only work in your world. Now, the way we deliver that is through what we call the Blue Water Finance System. It's a 5-step journey that we use with every client. Step 1 is discovery. We start by figuring out what's broken and what needs fixing. We review your systems, identify quick wins, and map out a clear plan. Step 2 is stabilize. We stop the fires, get cash flow and compliance back under control. We fix the urgent stuff and clear the backlogs. Step 3 is foundations. This is where we rebuild your finance system so that you can rely and trust the data that comes from it. We set up a proper chart of accounts, we ensure that CIS and VAT is done right, we set up solid bookkeeping routines, and we set up work in progress and cash flow forecasting templates that actually work for construction. Step 4 is about growth. Now you can start getting real-time visibility on cash, profit, and project performance. So you're never just checking your bank balance to see how things are going. You're relying on actual data. Step 5 is about accelerate. This is about turning numbers into action. Proper reporting rhythms, accurate forecasts, forward planning, so you can take on bigger projects and scale sustainably. And the result? A finance function that runs without you. Clarity, control, confidence without constant firefighting. Now that's what makes this different from a generic accountant. Our finance system is built specifically for construction. Everything accounts for how your industry actually works. CIS, retentions, subbies, project-based accounting, cash flow forecasting. We're proactive, not reactive. We spot issues before they become problems. And we combine advisory with compliance, So we're not just filing returns, we're helping you plan ahead. Look at Athena Commercial Interiors, our client that came to us as a startup business. From day one, they wanted construction-specific support. We built their systems around how they actually operate. Work in progress reporting, cash flow forecasting. We handled all the compliance, CIS, VAT, payroll, so they could focus on delivering projects. And the result? £4.7 million turnover in year 1, 20% growth in year 2, and now they're on track to triple their revenue in year 3. And here's the key. They didn't wait for a crisis to get it right. They built it properly right from the start. So how do you actually know if it's time to make a change? Let's start with the red flags, because there are some clear signs your current accountant just isn't right for construction. You only hear from them at year end, totally reactive, never proactive. They don't really understand CIS, or they give you vague answers about it. There's no proper WIP reporting, or maybe they send you one, but they can't explain what it actually means. You find yourself constantly explaining construction to them when really it should be the other way around. No monthly management accounts, no cash flow forecasts, and the advice, generic business advice that doesn't really fit how construction actually works. If you're nodding along to any of this, then you probably already know they're a compliance service, not a strategic partner. Now, if you're not sure, here's a few questions you can ask your current accountant, and this will tell you very quickly whether they really get construction or not. Do you specialize in construction businesses, or do you work with all industries? Can you give me monthly WIP reports that show job profitability? How do you handle CIS and VAT domestic reverse charge? What's your process for cash flow forecasting that accounts for retentions and payment timing? If they hesitate or can't give you a confident construction specific answer, that's your sign. So when should you actually make the switch? Look, if you're constantly frustrated by generic advice, if you're growing and your accountant can't keep up, if your cash flow stresses you out and they're not helping, or if you had jobs that lost money without any early warning signs, that's the time. Because by then the cost of staying where you are is already higher than the cost of switching. Now the transition, it's smoother than you think. A good construction specialist accountant handles all the technical stuff. They coordinate with the handover, set up proper systems, and usually within 30 to 60 days, you've got a fully functional construction-specific finance setup. And almost every client who makes the switch says the same thing. I wished I had done this years earlier. Look, if you're a construction business owner and you're frustrated with your current accountant, you're frustrated with generic advice, year-end accounts coming months late, they don't really understand CIS, WIP, or construction cash flow, you've got options. This is what we do. I work exclusively with construction and trades businesses turning over between £500,000 and £15 million a year. That's it. We don't work with retail or other industries because construction is unique and it needs people who actually understand how it works. I've created a construction finance health check that takes about 3 minutes to complete. It'll show you whether your current accountant setup is actually giving you what you need or where the gaps are. You'll get an instant report showing exactly where you stand. The link's in the description. Take the assessment. And if you complete it and you're doing over £500,000 a year in turnover, I'll personally review your results with you on a 30-minute call absolutely free. No sales pitch, just honest conversation about your situation and what needs to happen next. Look, your accountant should understand your world. They should speak construction, not generic business language. They should help you make better decisions, not just file your accounts 6 months late. If that's not what you're getting, it's probably time for a change. Take the assessment, see where you stand, and let's have an honest chat about what you actually need. And if this was helpful, then hit subscribe. I've got more content for construction business owners to help you get control of your numbers. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.